Shalom, and welcome back to B'nai Noach Academy, Thoughts on the Torah. Please remember to hit the like button to subscribe, and most importantly, to share this insight and inspiration with friends and family. So when you look in the book of Numbers, chapters 22, 23, 24, we know this as Parshat Balak. This is called the Parsha, the Torah portion of Balak, meaning we have, of course, chapters as the Torah, the 5 books of the Torah divided into chapters, which actually, to note, no one really knows the origin. In fact, it could be somewhat controversial. Some say it doesn't come from a very holy source and may come from a Christian source. But in any case, we do have the Torah divided into 52 or 53 parshiot, which sounds very similar in English, portions. These are the ones we read consecutively Sabbath after Sabbath until we complete the annual yearly cycle of reading of the Torah. So this parsha, this story here, is called Balak. Balak is a major figure here in the story because he is the one who summons Bilam, the prophet, the non-Jewish prophet. He summons him to come and curse the Jews. And this guy already has established for himself a resume. He has a track record that when he curses people, oh boy, those curses really have a very, very powerful effect. So Bilam comes, and by the end, instead of cursing the Jews, he ends up actually giving them the greatest blessings. In fact, some of the greatest prophecies are in this quote, Parsha, in the Parsha of Balak. Some of the greatest prophecies, namely about the coming of Mashiach and what will be at the end of times, we know it from here. And at the end, Bilam gets killed. That's going to be in future chapters. And Balak, what happens with him? Well, Balak doesn't really get punished for this. In fact, Balak has a very, very, very great descendant that he is tremendously forever to be proud of, and that is Ruth is a direct descendant of Balak, and later she becomes the great-grandmother of King David, who is the father of the seed of Mashiach. Amazing. Now here's the question. Balak seems to be an anti-Semite. He wants to do away with the Jews. He wants to hurt them. Bilam is the one who gets all the blame. Bilam is the one who takes the fall, so to speak. After being forced to give all the blessings later, he's killed. Why? And what can we learn from this? And how is it that we can name an entire portion, a Torah portion, after what seems to be a wicked person, Balak? We know there's a verse that says, King Solomon says, Shem Rishaim Yirkav, that the name of the wicked should rot, meaning you don't even mention the name of the wicked. And here we do. Well, I want to give you a different perspective. Let's look at what really happened here. Balak is a king of Moab, a king of his people. What needs to concern a king, a true leader? The well-being of his people, of his nation and his country, his land. That's what needs to concern him. And that's what concerned Balak. Balak is not a prophet. He doesn't know. He just knows what he sees coming on his radar. There is a whole mass of people that have already overrun some of the greatest protectors of this land, of this region. The giant Sichon, the giant Og. And now they're coming for me. And they're just going to overrun my country like nothing. This is going to be child's play to them if they were able to overrun those big giants and defeat them. So Balak is looking for every means possible to protect his people, to protect their interests. And knowing that through conventional warfare, he will not be able to succeed, there's no chance, he decides to be creative. And he's looking for creative ways until finally he figures the best thing we can do. We're going to call Bilam, and Bilam's going to curse them. And based on his track record, they're going to be done with. Bilam, on the other hand, is the ultimate anti-Semite. He is greedy. He wants money. He knows he's going to make a lot of money here. Moreover, he wants all the honor, the respect. Everybody should need him. And later, what he ends up doing is terrible, terrible. The worst thing you can do to someone is at the end of chapter 24, he actually causes them to sin. And that brings them down, at least for a while, temporarily, that is. And that is the worst thing that you can do. It shows us how corrupt he was. Now let's look at what happened. Again, Balak is actually doing a noble thing, is something to learn from him. In fact, this should be emulated. When you're in charge of something, when you are given the responsibility for the well-being of someone else or others, you have a duty to look out for their well-being, not for what you think is good for you or for someone else. You have to do your duty. You have a fiduciary responsibility to take care of them until the end. And that Balak did. And that's why the Torah doesn't really have such a big problem with him. But Bilam, he was a prophet. He knew that God had already commanded the Jewish people through Moses, Al Tatzaret Moav. Do not lay siege on Moab. Do not even antagonize them. In other words, Bilam knew very well that Moab, this entire nation, this entire territory was off limits to the Jews, and they're not going this direction. They have no business here. They will never harm Moab. You know what he could have done had he desired to make a little money or a lot of money? He could have told Balak, listen to me. I need you to sign here on the dotted line for my consulting fee, and let me give you advice. I'll give it to you with a guarantee. Guess what? I know. I have my information. I have my, my intelligence tells me, my intelligence gathering that the Jews will never come here. And it's guaranteed in writing. And it would have been true. And he would have gone home with his money. Balak would have been happy. It would have been all over. Instead, soon as he was invited and to come and curse the Jews, soon as he was told the reason for it, because Balak is concerned about his people, about his nation, about his territory, about his land, he jumps on the opportunity. Now he can curse his enemies, get all the respect and honor, so he thought, make such a boatload of money. Wow. This is the ultimate anti-Semite. This is the ultimate greedy person. All that matters to him is himself and his own interests. And that's why he got killed. And Balak actually becomes an icon in a sense, where the entire Parsha is named after him.